High-speed micro-rigs are cool and all, but sometimes you just need more. I mean a lot more. Perfection. Welcome to Explosive Enterprises, and today we're showcasing a small DIY project that is essentially a modern reinterpretation of the LBV concept of the 80s and 90s. Now, we already talked a bit about the original IAFS vest, informally known as the LBV-88, in our prior load-bearing equipment video, but we didn't talk about what it inspired. From the early 90s, companies like Eagle Industries, LBT, SOE, and Blackhawk produced their own renditions of the LBV, offering different harnesses and features but maintaining the same core design. A harnessed belt for sustainment, a holster, and basic Alice-style pouches, supplemented by integral sewn pouches for rifle magazines and grenades. This retained the flexibility of the Alice system, but also provided integral load-bearing capability to free up more belt space and reduce bulk. Over the course of the 90s, however, the vest expanded and the belt shrank. With the Cold War concluded, increased focus on counterterrorism and mount operations led to reduced sustainment concerns and greater need for low-profile gear for mechanized use. But as we discussed in our load-bearing equipment video, there's been a modern resurgence in belt kit to meet the sustainment requirements of dismounted operations while optimizing kinematic load-bearing efficiency, which is a bunch of word salad to say that if you're going hiking, you can carry more weight more comfortably if it's distributed around the hips rather than on the chest, and the same still applies if your hike involves a rifle. To that end, I've greatly enjoyed using my Crossfire DZ-Rig for airsoft events of longer than a few hours. As with any setup though, there are compromises, and the DZ-Rig has two big ones. First, while the rig can support a ton of weight, pouch space is at a premium. 2 canteens and 6 mags leaves just 2 mag pouches and 1 sustainment pouch, plus whatever small pouches I can attach to the sides for everything else I need. This is fine, it's all very comfortable to carry, but the second compromise is that none of this gear is quick access. It is all accessible without taking the rig off, but putting multiple things into the smaller pouches makes them a bit fiddly to extract and replace. There are obviously no speed reloads on this setup. I want to stress that this is not me saying it's a bad rig or that I don't like it anymore. None of these limitations are surprises, they're things I mentioned in our previous equipment video. They're the natural trade-offs of optimizing for load-bearing capability rather than speed. Then one day I was looking at those 90s rigs and I got to thinking, there has to be a way to modernize this. Rather than try to cram everything into a belt rig, separate out the functions so that fighting gear goes on a modern chest rig for quick access, while heavier sustainment items go on a suspended belt for better load carriage. And instead of stacking straps by simply wearing a chest rig over a belt rig, leverage the modularity of modern buckle-based chest rigs to attach one to the same padded harness as the belt. I figured someone must have already had this idea, but I actually couldn't find any commercial products that provide this functionality. Fine, I'll do it myself. So I started with the DZ-Rig, and since I'm refocusing the belt to mostly sustainment, the first thing I did was remove the rifle mag pouches and replace them with Crossfire's new Butterbar pouches. These are just big GPs that come with a couple choices of internal divider, making them a little more flexible for carrying additional sustainment on the belt line. Now, to integrate a chest rig, I added buckles to the loops on the padded straps and removed the sternum strap since the chest rig will be fulfilling that role. Ideally, the belt would instead hang directly off the chest component, but this will at least retain a bit more modularity. On the back, I routed a simple cross strap through the pack supporting loops. And then I started prototyping with my Commando Store P84 2.0, and it works, sort of. After adjustment, it's comfortable, and I find balances front to back pretty well. The chest rig's lower strap keeps it tight against the torso, while the connection points to the DZ rig bear the weight and stabilize, but the problem is putting it on and taking it off. Obviously, the DZ rig goes on like a jacket, but the chest rig is meant to go over the head, and so getting those rear buckles connected really sucks. This would probably be easier with a lower profile chest rig that buckles closer to the front, but having validated the core concept, I already had a better solution in mind. This is a Spiritus 34A. Well, it's a slightly modified knockoff of a 34A. Truth be told, I don't like the 34A design all that much. I think it's kind of neither fish nor fowl as far as load-bearing equipment goes, but for this specific purpose, the split front design is ideal. The pouches attached to it are the rifle pouches off the DZ rig, plus an extra Nixieworks mag pouch off to the side for radio and battery bank. The front top buckles and rear top strap remain unchanged, but a lower rear strap is added going underneath the DZ rig straps, and at the front, the horizontal buckles on the 34A are fully tightened. So, although this rig now has more straps and buckles than the closet your mom tells you not to open, putting it on is simple. It goes on like the unmodified DZ rig, it simply has 3 horizontal buckles now instead of the previous 2. As you probably gathered, essentially what I've done is shift the rifle mag pouches from the belt up to the chest, and then added a pair of GPs to the now vacated space. Cinching up the chest rig in front keeps the rifle pouches far enough forwards to avoid interfering with either of my arms or the new GPs, and having them right in front makes access a bit easier. The rig still carries just as much weight as before, but it's a little quicker to access the relevant stuff once the shooting starts. Here's an example rifle setup for 12 hours. 4 mags in the center 2 pouches up front, a speed loader and 5th mag in the leftmost rifle pouch, and a pair of grenades in the rightmost. Radio and battery bank for a camera under the left arm as mentioned. a short propane tank at 6 o'clock, flanked by 2 canteens. The left GP holds a PVS-14 and spare batteries, and the right GP holds food, a microfiber cloth, and tools. None of these pouches are completely filled to the brim, but they still contain everything I need for 12 hours in the field, and all of them can cinch down to keep their contents tight. If necessary, this can still pair with a backpack or a ruck without issue. But there are still a few lingering limitations. While a pistol can be carried in one of the mag pouches, there is no dedicated holster. There's also no provision for a speed reload here. Neither of these are problems for the 12-hour format, but they are tangible drawbacks and make this setup only optimal for those longer games, rather than a scalable, do-everything rig in the vein of the old LBVs. So, a little more iteration. First, I added another Nixieworks pouch on the right side of the chest panel to match the left. Then I added a Taco to the belt, attached to the Butterbar pouch on one side and the left GP on the other, and since both of those pouches are fairly rigid, it stays surprisingly stable. Lastly, I removed the Butterbar pouch on the right. In its place, I installed a Safariland QLS plate attached to a true North MHA, which in turn mounts via a Safariland molle adapter, and a third Nixieworks pouch. These tweaks put a speed reload at the belt just ahead of the dump pouch and integrate a holster at the cost of splitting that GP into 2 rifle mag pouches, one on the belt and one on the chest. Taking the same loadout from before, I can add an extra rifle mag, plus a pistol and 2 spare mags for it. The total weight is now 28 pounds, with no body armor, and with a lightweight helmet, the full kit still stays well below the 50-pound average combat load that dates back to antiquity. I won't pretend that kludging a chest panel onto a belt rig is any sort of quantum leap in gear, but I am pretty pleased with what I see as a straight improvement to what was already my favorite sustainment rig. As always, the important thing is to figure out what you need and go from there, and I hope that this provides some inspiration and maybe gets you thinking about outside-the-box solutions to your gear limitations. That's all for today. If you'd like to support our channel, please consider checking out our Patreon or merch store linked in the description, and as always, thank you for watching.